The fall of Athens wasn't about broken walls. Its famous walls were never breached. No, Athens fell because its people, huddled inside those very walls, voted for their own destruction. This was the cradle of democracy, the world's first great experiment in stealth. But when their enemies gathered outside, the people inside didn't vote to surrender or compromise. They voted to continue a war they could no longer win. By the time they realized their mistake, it was too late. The vote was cast. The future was sealed. Athens was more than a city. It was an idea, a place where citizens debated policy in the open, where leaders could be challenged, where power truly belonged to the people. This city gave us philosophy, theater, history, and reason itself. But Athens also built an empire. Its allies paid tribute, its rivals were crushed, and the sea belonged to its mighty navy. So, when war with Sparta began, Athens felt invincible. Its fleet was supreme, its treasury was full, and its walls were unbreakable. Pride blinded them to any other path but defiance. As Spartan armies ravaged the countryside, the Athenian strategy was simple: retreat. Everyone, every farmer, every family, every animal was ordered inside the city walls. On paper, the plan was brilliant. The navy would keep the city supplied with food, the walls would hold back the enemy, and Sparta would eventually give up. But a city isn't made of stone, it's made of people. And people need space, fresh air, and clean water. Athens was about to run out of all three. Then, the plague arrived. It started quietly, then exploded. High fevers, uncontrollable vomiting, a burning, unquenchable thirst. Bodies piled up faster than they could be buried or burned. The doctors died first, then the priests, then anyone who dared to help. Law and order collapsed. Funerals were abandoned, religious rites ignored, mass graves were dug in the streets. People blew their life savings in a desperate, final binge. Others stole openly. Why follow the rules when death was coming for you tomorrow? Athens remained undefeated, but inside its walls, civilization was dissolving, and its democracy began to consume itself. Fear needed a scapegoat, and it found one in Pericles, the city's great leader, the man who had architected the war strategy, who had urged patience and restraint, was now blamed for the disaster. The assembly, the very heart of their democracy, turned on him. They stripped him of his power, fined him, and accused him of treason. Shortly after, Pericles himself died from the plague. Athens had lost its guide, and the mob was now in control. Demagogues rose to power, men who promised easy victories, who fed the public's anger, who shouted loudly and thought little. Debate turned into a screaming match. Votes became weapons. Fear ruled the assembly, and fear demanded blood. When the city of Mytilene rebelled, the enraged Athenian assembly voted to execute every single man and sell the women and children into slavery. A fleet was dispatched to carry out the sentence. The next day, a wave of regret washed over the city. A second assembly was called. After a furious debate, they reversed the decision, sending a second ship to race the first. It arrived just in time to stop the massacre, but the damage was done. Democracy had shown its darkest side. And then came the vote that sealed their fate, the invasion of Sicily. It was a distant island, a tempting prize, a chance to expand the empire. Wise voices warned against the reckless adventure, but they were shouted down. Logistics were dismissed, reality was mocked. The great fleet sailed, filled with the best of Athens' young men. What followed was total annihilation. The army was trapped, the navy was obliterated. The few survivors were left to starve in stone quarries. In a single, reckless vote, Athens had lost its power, its wealth, and its future. The end came slowly. Sparta returned, But this time Athens was helpless. No fleet, no allies, no money. The walls that had been their fortress now became their prison. Food ran out. Starvation took hold. The city that once debated the nature of justice now fought over scraps of bread. Finally, Athens surrendered, not because its walls fell, but because its people were broken. Sparta tore down the long walls brick by brick. The empire was gone. Democracy was abolished, replaced by a brutal puppet regime known as the 30 Tyrants. Executions and exile became the new law. Athens survived, but the idea, the dream, was dead. The city that taught the world how to govern itself learned what it meant to lose that right completely. Athens didn't fall because democracy is weak. It fell because fear outvoted wisdom, because anger drowned out reason, because in the end, the primal scream for survival mattered more than truth. The Siege of Athens wasn't just a military defeat. It was a timeless warning. Democracy is a powerful tool, but it's a tool that, in the hands of a terrified crowd, can just as easily choose its own destruction.